Greetings, Vault Hunters all across the 6 galaxies. Welcome to the Bordercast. We are live once more at our usual time, Tuesdays at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. I'm Mitsu.
And I'm Tessica, coming to you every week to break down all things Borderlands.
It is our 52nd overall episode. Happy birthday to us. Tess and I want to thank you all for having joined us on this wild ride that has been the past year on Pandora and beyond. Your support, especially in these trying times, mean the absolute world to us.
Guardian Takedown has been out for some time now, and with the hotfixes to health, hopefully more players are now partaking and beating the event. No time to waste, however, with Bounty of Blood on the horizon later this week. Phase 2 Mayhem changes coming also with that DLC drop. To talk with us more about Phase 2, we have Graham Timmons joining the program again, as well as Nick Thurston, one of the driving forces of the math behind the Mayhem. There is so much math in this game. I know that some of you guys have an idea, but you have no idea how much math there really is. It's kind of mind-boggling. So we get to talk to them a little bit more about that, and they have some new information to share, which is very exciting.
Indeed. So, as always, we wanted to take a moment to thank all of our new listeners on iTunes and Spotify and Stitcher and those watching live right now, and I can see you guys right over there, on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or later on the VOD on YouTube. If you are enjoying the program, we would love for you to give us a big ol' like, follow, or favorite so that this show becomes YouTube's favorite show. Not the viewers, I mean the website itself. It's a sentient being. Just trust me on that one.
It's slightly terrifying, but cool.
It's YouTube Skynet. Or Legion now. I forget exactly how the Terminator series has evolved at this point.
Who knows?
Yeah. Guardian Takedown is out now, and they just had the hotfix scaling changes. How have you been feeling about them, Tess?
It definitely feels a lot better. I still struggle at Mayhem 10, but like I was always going to struggle at Mayhem 10 because I'm just not that OP. Mayhem 6 now feels really doable and good and fun. And like for me, it's an appropriate challenge, which I felt like Mayhem 4 was that before. So, I mean, they lowered the health so significantly. So I've been having fun getting to actually do that and getting to actually like enjoy the way it is.
Yeah. And I mean, if you can tell, definitely, then it should be pretty prevalent for most folks to be able to enjoy at this point. So that's a good change. It's good to know that it's like it's getting you higher and higher up there. And you never know. Eventually, the whole point is progression, right? So you still have Mayhem 10 to look forward to. So eventually you'll probably be able to get enough stuff, get the right gear, the right roles for everything, and be able to do that. And you'll probably be assisted a little bit more with the boosts that Phase 2 will put into play. But we'll talk about that a little bit.
That's true. There are some really, really good changes coming. Phase 2 changes might make the difference for me because I feel like I can do it. It's just, I don't enjoy bullet sponge enemies as much, you know, and some people really like that challenge. And like, I think the challenge is there for a reason. This is the hardest content in the game. You know, the really, really hardcore players want something to test their most crazy OP builds against. So that's what it's there for. So somebody like me who I have a pretty OP build because I watch Ultimate Vault Hunter and I know how to make OP builds thanks to the awesome people on Ultimate Vault Hunter. Lazy, I saw you in the chat earlier. Thank you. But, you know, I'm definitely not that OP of a player. I like to kind of take things easy and just have fun with it. So Mayhem 10 is like a once in a while thing for me, not an all the time thing for me. So I'm excited to see the changes for Phase 2 though, because those will be really significant. Just being able to have your action skill, like damage output scale and your grenade scale and all of that stuff, that gonna be good.
Yeah. And I like your willingness, by the way, that you're willing to go like up and down in Mayhem levels. Like you're not afraid to go like, oh, I'll dip my toe into Mayhem 10 for a little while, and maybe it's being a little bit of a struggles for me right now, so I'm gonna go back to 9 or back to 8 and play around a little bit more. But that's good. That's showing that like you have this willingness now, not to just be like, all right, I'm writing Mayhem 10 off. I'm just gonna like stick at 6 and that's it. Because I was like that. Remember? I was like, I'm too afraid to go to Mayhem 10. It's too tough for me. I'm gonna stick at 6 like a scaredy boy. And then finally, you know, I got around to doing it thanks to some help from the community. I was like, all right, cool, we're good.
And maybe it's the Dark Souls tryhard in me. I don't know. I mean, I don't play Borderlands like I play tryhard. I don't play Borderlands like I play Souls likes, but I sometimes do. Sometimes I'm in the mood for a challenge, or I just want to see what it's like. I also feel like it's my responsibility as a slightly more casual player to kind of see what it would be like for people like me so that I can speak to it, intelligently, both on Bordercast and my own stream. So
yes,
I feel like I should be trying all the things, at least a little.
There are no new events presently. I'm a little sad about that, but I'm sure that they're cooking up some fun stuff to have ready for us whenever that comes to the case. Borderlands: The Legendary Collection, as you know, we've been talking about it quite extensively here. It is out for the Switch right now. Go and get it if you haven't already. It's worth it, especially if you fly a lot, when we can fly a lot again. DLC, Bounty of Blood. This is the big one. What is today? Today is the 23rd. 2 days. 2 whole days until we get to go to Gehenna. How you feeling about that?
So excited. Oh my God, so excited. I think people are going to love it. That's all I'm going to say. I just think people are going to love it. I'm going to love it. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I am very excited to see what happens with that. Just because it's new. Like, not just the DLC being new, but everybody in it is new.
Yeah.
And that's very exciting for me. Along with Bounty of Blood will come Mayhem 2.0, something we're going to be talking about quite extensively in this hour of programming.
Yeah. We have a really good interview to show you guys in just a little bit. And again, Mayhem 2.0 changes, definitely things requested by the community, things that we've been talking about over the last few weeks. So excited to see that. And of course, the DLC.
Yes. And I think that everybody will find that information enlightening. But first, just a quick primer talking about what we've done in Borderlands this past week. We bring to everybody this past week. Yes, how was your week in Borderlands?
It's been quiet. Mostly quiet. I mostly did a lot of Guardian Takedown. And then I farmed a little bit to try to get some of my older weapons because I thought I had gotten things like the Lob and a bunch of Cutsmans at Mayhem 10, but I was wrong. I only have one Cutsman at Mayhem 10 and no Lobs. So I've just kind of been working on that stuff a little bit.
How are you feeling about your Lob? You still think it's competitive damage numbers right now?
It can be. It definitely can be. I used it on Anathema a little bit. I used it on the final boss in the takedown a little bit also. Scourge. It's one of those I am like wanting to change guns, or I'm wanting to do a lot of damage quickly. Or I'm really low on health, and because my entire build at this point is based on lifesteal, so I need health, use my Lob. Because what'll happen is either I'll die and then I'll do 25% more damage because of my shield that I like to use, and then I'll get myself back up because there's a Guardian perk, I think it's a Guardian perk, that will get me back up if I do enough damage very quickly. Or I'll, shoot the Lob or whatever it is at a baby enemy, wreck it, get myself back up. It's my like, oh god, I'm gonna die, or oh god, everything is going crazy gun that I turn to. So, and it generally works well for that.
Yeah. The Guardian Takedown has been a lot of fun. I'm enjoying using what we have right now. I'm hoping that, going forward in the future, and we'll get to talk about the future in a little bit with Graham and Nick as well, that some of the guns, especially as they continue to scale, will level up very nicely. The Smog has been a lot of fun. The Web Slinger is hilarious. Not very necessarily strong, but a hilarious gun. What is it? Apparently you can use it to kind of crawl up walls by accident. That wasn't intentional, but it happened. Like, that's a real thing that happened. Yeah, I had no idea. I thought the Smog was pretty good. I think it needs some tweaks to be better. It definitely suffers from, if you get shot once, then the entire premise of the gun kind of gets ruined. And some things in this game kind of suffer from that. There's a shield. I can't remember what the name of it. We talked about it last week. There is a shield where you get 50% more melee damage if the shield is full. And I thought that was a great idea for a shield, except that you're constantly getting hit.
Yeah.
It's like this weird nebulous area where you either have to have a full shield with that one particular roid shield, or you have to have no shield with every other roid shield to get that damage bonus for it. And it's kind of like, what's happening? I don't know. How do I take advantage of this particular situation?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this is everything that we've wanted. Guardian Takedown feels a lot better. Obviously, there's still a little bit more work to be done. That's why Mayhem 2.0's Phase 2 is going to be really huge for it. And I'll have that be the Greg way if Greg was here. He will be here next week. I guess we should talk about that real quick. Greg Miller and his wife Jen will be joining us on the show next week.
That'll be a lot of fun. I'm excited for that episode.
I am very excited to talk with them and see how they've been enjoying the DLC. That's going to be a really enjoyable experience. But as he likes to say, he calls them Greg ways for his segues. Let's get right into it. The interview with Graham and Nick, they were kind enough to sit and talk with us for a while about some of the upcoming changes to Guardian rank, to all of the different scaling that will happen to different abilities, and other things that might have not felt up to par, and maybe give you a little bit more insight into how the game is made, how the sausage is made, if you will. Without further ado, take it away. Hey, Vault Hunters. We're joined once again by Graham Timms, lead of post-launch content, and Nick Thurston, one of the men behind the Mayhem at Gearbox. Hey, gentlemen, what's up?
Not much. How about you?
Thank you for joining us today. It's a pleasure to have you back, Graham. Of course, we love talking to you. And Nick, it's a pleasure to meet you. We've heard some of your works, and we can't wait to talk about it today. Just talk for a second. How are you guys feeling about the overall philosophy behind Phase 2 and how you think it'll impact the game?
That's all you, Nick.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the community has been pretty outspoken about, things they want to see, and build diversity has been, first and foremost on all of our minds. This Phase 2 is really meant to address, making sure that other builds that can actually use like action skills, pet damage, slam, slide, all those things that are sort of neglected right now compared to just raw gun damage is viable and hopefully fun.
Very cool.
It sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah.
The level cap is jumping again. 3 more levels, 3 more points. How do you think this will affect build diversity and talent trees going forward?
We're excited about giving players every opportunity to further tweak their builds, play with the math a little more in an interesting way. I think there's going to be, some tweaks to some existing builds that will eke out a few more power. We understand 3 levels is not a significant amount, but like I said in the past, 3 points in our game is a lot different than it was in previous Borderlands. So depending on where you put those points, you can min-max in a pretty good, healthy way.
This, by the way, is why Liz asks on every Ultimate Vault Hunters, why 3 more points? Where would you put them going forward? Because it seems to be the trend right now. 3 more points every time the level cap is going to go up. So I think it's a fair question to ask, especially for the min-maxers who want to be forward-thinking and proactive with their builds.
I never know what to do with those points when I get them, when we get a new DLC or new content, because I'm too in awe of the content, and I hadn't had the time to even think about what I would do with those points. I'm just like, ooh, pretty, ooh, beautiful, ooh, things to shoot, oh my god, stuff to do. I have to put points. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to put this. Oh god, I'll just stick it somewhere, and then I always end up redoing it 50 times later. So this is great. Ultimate Vault Hunter is great because I know exactly where to put them ahead of time.
Well, we think that increasing the level cap when you have new content to explore, it's a fun little bonus as you're playing through this content, getting that XP. By the time you've gone through this content, you've likely leveled up through the 3 levels or so. You can run another piece of content, be it a slaughter or the trials or even the takedowns. You'll leveled up and have those to play with after you consume that new content. It's the best way to do it.
Very, very cool.
Absolutely. And speaking of things to level up, Guardian rank is also going up a little bit more. There's 3 new talents, the first of which is probably what I think is the most interesting of the 3 of them. Groundbreaker, a talent where your melee and or slam attacks will trigger an aftershock, dealing 25% of all non-melee damage that you have dealt over the last 5 seconds. What can you tell us about this new talent?
Yeah, so I mean, in general, when we're talking about damage scaling, that is more to address making melee and slam relevant, where not everyone wants to incorporate melee and slam into their builds. So this Guardian perk is sort of an interesting way to make people care about using ground slam. especially when the preceding perk allows you to use it whenever you want to in non-slam oriented builds.
It'll work really well with that cut purse mod.
Yeah.
It's nice to see that you guys are reaching out and trying to find more ways to make melee viable. It's something I've been personally hoping for quite some time now. I really want to see going forward that people really get in there and scrap. It reminds me of Brick back in the old days, where you just had explosive fists and was just blowing everything up for funsies. So this reminds me a lot, actually, of Brick's old town. So,
very cool. So there's another one called Dead Man Walking. While not moving in Fight for Your Life, your meter drains 50% slower. That sounds so nice. That sounds amazing.
I mean, that's a pretty big deal. Yeah, you'll be able to hang around, like in the takedown. If you're in down, your buddies will be able to res you really significant amount more time that you'll be there. You'll have to make some decisions now if you have that. Is like, how much do you move? How much do you stay where you're at and have them come to you? So there's some interesting play there, but it's a pretty nice quality of life change once you get into that tree where you'll know you have more time, 50% more time potentially if you don't do anything just at the base. So we think a lot of players will enjoy that change in particular.
It'll be great during fights where the boss isn't moving around necessarily as much. So you that compounded with the amount of time that you're getting when you're shooting. If you're that far in the tree, you've already invested. The name of the talent escapes me right now, but it basically gives you more time to fight for your life every time you successfully.
Too angry to die.
Yeah.
Thank you. Too angry to die. Yes. That talent compounded with this one will probably keep people in the fight long enough where you're not going, if only I had one more second.
Right.
It's going to help with double downer shield also, because that already doubles my Fight for Your Lifetime, but it also gives me 25% more weapon damage. So I use it all the time. I'll go down because I do that a lot anyway. But then not only will I get myself back up, but I'll also either kill more things or do more damage to the boss. I super used that for Wotan. That was the only way that I could actually get past that 2 shield phase ever, was die and crawl under the shield and just shoot him a lot and hope. So that'll be cool.
Tess, you're very quickly approaching this point where you're going to have to start developing builds that are based around you getting damage bonuses from being in Fight for Your Life.
It's a bold strategy.
Back in the day, it's a bold strategy.
I'm okay with this.
It's not like, and there's nothing wrong with that. Again, like Zombie Maya was that same philosophy back in the day. Take a knee and you get 100% fire damage increase from Immolate. That was the good stuff. So it's just, you never know. Let Her Alive. When you enter Fight for Your Life, all weapons are automatically reloaded. A small change, but a very interesting one. What kind of motivated this one?
I mean, everyone's been there where, you have just a little bit of life left on the enemy and you really want to get it out, but then your, weapon takes way too long to reload. And, in the middle of you reloading, you end up dying. And there's nothing more frustrating than that, like, very brief feeling like I could easily have done this if only I had one more second. So this is going to hopefully alleviate that kind of feeling like you got gypped.
Yeah, I think this is probably the biggest Guardian skill this set for sure. I think that's a actually really big change to the loop. Like, part of our balance around Fight for Your Life was always that, like, time versus ammo versus reload and all that kind of interplay there is what creates those moments of like, I got second wind. I think this one in particular is a really impactful change and a really powerful quality of life improvement for people if they go down this tree. I think it's going to be really popular, and I think a lot of people are going to really enjoy having this available in particular.
I assume that's in the green tree, which means I'm just going to take even more elemental damage as I'm
right. Absolutely.
Yeah, I have it. The way we did it, I was going to assume Groundbreaker is in the red tree, Dead Man Walking is in the blue tree, and Let Her Alive is in the green tree. I wasn't sure, but
that's correct.
Sure that was clear. Okay. Excellent. They kind of hinted towards being that in those trees. I just wanted clarification. That's excellent. So segueing out of that, let's get a little bit more into Mayhem, because there are changes in Phase 2 to Mayhem. The first thing that I noticed was there will be damage scaling added to melee, sliding, slam, skill damage, pets, vehicles, and several passive skills. And that is a lot of added damage values. So what was the thought process behind bringing all of these values up to the Mayhem level, if you will?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, players have said for a long time that action skills, slide, slam, pet damage, all these things are underwhelming. And I think they've been, rightfully justified in saying that. And it's definitely been on our mind on how we're going to try to address that. The important part for Mayhem is to provide sort of a gear check to make sure that, if you're on Mayhem 10, you need to be able to pump out Mayhem 10 levels of damage. And hopefully these underlying bonuses that we're going to give players is going to basically amplify their gear. In general, most gear is additive in the sense that bonuses from different pieces don't multiply each other. But the bonuses from Mayhem is multiplicative. So at the core level, you're going to deal melee damage on patch day. You'll notice that the damage is higher, but it's not significantly higher. But then once you add in a face puncher, once you add in some melee damage, once you add in a whole bunch of other things like that, and then trigger your anointment to do 200% melee damage, suddenly that boost to melee at its core gets amplified to a tremendous level, and you're suddenly going to be able to build, interesting gear compositions to make things like melee viable again.
I'm trying to think of how it will properly be invested going forwards, and this seems to be yet another jumping off point. I'm kind of hoping that it leads towards, for example, I know Zane Clone is a little rough around the edges right now, so I'm excited that he'll be receiving more damage, and it might actually open up a better play style for people to invest all the way down that talent tree and give him a rocket launcher when you spawn him instead of his normal just shooty gun, and see what kind of damage can come out of that. So
it's also worth noting that not only damage is scaling, but also pet health, Iron Bear health, and Digiclone health are also going to be scaled up as well.
Really?
So they'll have the survivability to actually be able to do the damage in combat.
That makes me want to play Black again.
Yeah.
I was so sad when my pet was dying. I was just too sad. So having my pet at least do lots of damage before it dies, that'll work. Can you give us some examples of passive skills that were updated to respect Mayhem levels?
Yeah, so I mean, there's 3 core ones that basically deal straight up damage out of the passive tree. Moses' Short Fuse and Amara's Remnant and Do Unto Others both do quite a bit of damage, but again, in Mayhem, they haven't quite been performing very well. So we initially did scale them along with action scale damage, but what we found out was a lot of the skills ended up double dipping into having multipliers multiply each other. So Moses' Short Fuse is obviously using the weapon damage, which has Mayhem levels. And then when multiplied by the action skill scaler, that ends up multiplying itself and double dipping and just being absolutely insane. So those 3, they still have a amount of damage that is scaled in Mayhem. It's just a significantly lower amount. It's especially problematic with Amara because Amara triggers Remnant off of finishing someone with an action skill, which is going to be amplified. Then it gets stored in Overkill, which was then also being amplified by the same number twice. So it just ended up needing to have its own passive separate scale to keep it competitive but not be insane. I was easily able to do millions of damage with Remnant, and it's quite satisfying when it happens.
I cannot fathom the amount of math that actually goes into all of the work that you guys put in. You just told me about 3 or 4 different equations that were going on just to create the damage number that comes out as the end product of all of these processes when we fire a gun. Yeah. Holy moly.
The math involved in this game is mind-blowing for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and you said something very interesting right there about skill damage, specifically pertaining to Amara's talents, but I also noticed going through these notes, skill damage is now a rollable stat on class mods. So how do you anticipate this will affect build diversity going forwards? And perhaps can you provide an example of a skill, besides the one listed right there, that you think will uniquely benefit from these changes?
Sure. So like what I said with Melee, where, it's important to have a baseline for Melee, but then having your gear, really multiply it and amplify it to an extent. Right. All action skills will be doing significantly more damage than they have ever before. But when you're really saying, oh, I have, my rack attack build that's getting extra charges and I want to have, extra fire damage. Now, not only will your action skill, scale with fire, amplification, but it'll also scale with this class mod. So if you can, find a god roll that does both of those things, suddenly your rack attack is just going to be absolutely insane.
Ooh. all the Flak players, their ears just perked up again because they're like, oh yes,
I might have to revive my flag.
Yeah, and you were about to go with Zane too, so this like you're
going
going all
to
over the
play
place
Zane.
again.
That's happening, but maybe I'll have to make time for both.
I mean, there's a lot of other builds too, like the friend bot class mod from Flak that has pet damage. Like pet damage is also going to be amplified from that. Slam Gear Moze has fire in the Skag Den and toward cross promotion. Like that just amplifies slam damage to an ungodly level. Every single character is going to have like interesting pathways to use these underutilized sort of damage sources.
Yeah, I'm going to say I'm probably a little envious. I know Zane wasn't intended to be a pet character, but all of these new opportunities afforded kind of seem like I could envision a class mod somewhere down the line, because C and Dead is so overwhelmingly competitive right now, where you build a build that is based around your clone. And now because skill damage values are being enhanced and clone's health is being advanced, and there's lots of different ways to keep clone in the fight, I could see like what it like, not obviously a 1-to-1 value, but clone kind of going after you too. So this opens up a lot of new opportunities to see what the future might hold for those kinds of builds.
Yeah, we're really interested to see what the community kind of finagles out of all the different pieces of gear layered on top of these Mayhem skills, damage scaling happening in particular.
Grenade mods now scale to Mayhem levels 2. Thank you so much for this change. Seriously, that's a huge deal. I love using grenades. It's like I'm out of ammo and I need to reload. Here's some stuff to still do damage while I'm doing that. Like, it makes me feel better to chuck grenades at things. It really does. So
deal with this while I'm down.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's amazing. So thank you very much for making that happen. On the one hand, I am not super looking forward to farming the recurring hex grenade again, but I kind of am, because when I get it, it's going to be ridiculous.
Yep. Grenades are going to, mods will drop just like Mayhem weapons. They'll have the item card, we'll have the level it was in. So, we have Mayhem gear now made up of weapons and grenade mods. It's another piece of math that people are going to have to consider when they're re-rolling this stuff, is the type of grenades and Mayhem that they want to pair up with their different builds. It should be a pretty interesting time these next few weeks.
Yeah, that grenade Mayhem modifier that boosts damage, I use that already anyway some of the time, especially on the lower Mayhem levels. It really makes a difference. But now it'll make a huge difference no matter what Mayhem level you're on. That's going to be awesome.
The Hex and its Piss tend to be some of the most popular grenade options right now, and I'm sure there are a few others. Are there any mods that in some preliminary testing you think that you might want to like nudge the community towards, that maybe they should take a second look at besides those two?
I mean, MIRVs in general. The more grenades you have, the more pieces of grenade that are out there, the more opportunity to benefit from the damage bonus. So, those are, I think, just by default, they're going to be more interesting for a lot of builds.
Very cool.
Yeah, I'm excited for grenades. As a Zane player, it's a little different for us, but I think that it makes us now feel like putting points into those particular talents while going down certain trees is a better investment, and that's very exciting to do, which is what we've been talking about, build diversity.
Yep.
One thing that I did notice, and it is missing from the patch, and I was actually a little confused about this, so hopefully you guys can enlighten me a little bit more on it, is shields were not included in the Mayhem upscaling. Why is that?
Yeah, so this is an interesting point of contention, and a lot of the community doesn't seem to quite have a lot of clarity on this subject. The short answer is shields and class mods and artifacts, all of them don't scale with Mayhem, and they don't scale with Mayhem simply because they would actually make the game easier. And I say that because a lot of people assume that on the higher levels of Mayhem, the damage that they're taking in is increased, but it's actually the exact same amount. Enemies on Mayhem 1, for instance, are going to do the exact same amount of damage as on Mayhem 10. There is a slight caveat there, because enemies on Mayhem 10 will live longer, which just because they live longer, you will take more damage. But if shields ended up scaling with Mayhem as well, it would actually make the game easier as opposed to harder, which kind of goes against the entire point of Mayhem.
I think that is an important distinction to make from Borderlands 2's op levels. Comparisons have been drawn, But the major difference here is damage values never went up. Everything is just health, and then there are the external modifier factors that feed into where additional damage sources may be coming from. But it was never that they directly had any increased values. And I'm actually very grateful for that, because that fed into the lack of diversity in Borderlands 2, because everybody was pigeonholed into having to use some sort of weapon to heal themselves and keep them above the ever elusive health gate. And we've kind of successfully managed to avoid that thus far, and I'm very happy to see that that is the case.
Yep.
Thank you, you guys, so much for meeting up with us again, Nick, for the first time, and Graham again. We're very, very lucky that we get to come and ask you guys these questions. So thank you so much. And we're very much excited for these changes. Very much looking forward to them. Thank you.
Feel free to
Awesome,
take them.
as always.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for being here. We appreciate talking to you.
Yep.
Thanks so much.
Phase 2 coming at you guys this Thursday alongside the release of DLC 3, Bounty of Blood. They can't wait to bring it to us, and we can't wait to play it.
What an awesome interview.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I hope there was a lot of information out there that you guys really appreciated. That was a great conversation to have with them. Wow, that info dump. Yeah, what do you guys think?
Very, very, very excited. I'm excited for these changes. All of this is coming, you guys, in 2 days. In 2 days, on Thursday, when the DLC drops, Mayhem 2.0 drops, all that stuff is happening then. So new level cap, everything happening in just 2 days. That's so crazy. It's so exciting. It makes all of the farming that we're going to do so much more exciting to me, because it's not just farming for higher Mayhem levels, it's farming for higher levels in general. So I'm actually really, 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 really psyched. It's going to be cool.
We wanted to touch on one other thing that we did not get a chance to bring up in the interview, and post-interview we had a bit of a discussion about this. There is one other thing, or two other things I should say, and they don't go quite in tandem, but they kind of feed into each other. Vehicles are having significant changes made to their damage scaling as well. So as you move up, vehicles will feel stronger. They will do more appropriate damage for Mayhem levels. I'm hoping that this means they don't just blow the heck up, every 5 seconds. So they seem to be indicating that change is being made. And the other big one, and this is a very important distinction, so open your earballs real quick, because you got to think about it for 1 second. Environmental damage will scale with Mayhem. However, that will only apply to NPCs. It will not apply to players. So to give an example, if you punch a barrel and it goes into an NPC, it will do full-scaled Mayhem damage. But if you are standing next to a barrel and the barrel blows up, it will not do that amount of damage to you. It will only do the amount of damage at probably just Mayhem 0 or True Vault Hunter levels. It's a very important distinction to make. I know that required a little bit of thought, because the first time I heard it, it took me a little bit to process it. But basically, barrels won't just kill you, is what I'm trying to say.
Yes, but you can use them to kill the things in front of you, which is always
yes.
good, so.
Yes. And I think that goes back to the question that we were asking before about why shields didn't go up, because damage incoming wasn't done. So they wanted to make sure that this fed along the lines of environmental effects as well. Because in Borderlands 3, we go back to op levels. In op levels for Borderlands 3, for op levels in Borderlands 2, you had scaling. So you were standing next to a barrel blows up from your friend because your friend's a jerk. You're taking a knee. Now you don't have to worry about that as much anymore.
Yeah. And the vehicle damage is important because now we have jet beasts. Jet beasts. I'm still really, really, really excited about this to actually I want to see my Amara on one of these, like, just wrecking face. I'm so excited for that. It's going to be ridiculous. And to actually have that value of being able to be on your vehicle and driving around and killing things on whatever Mayhem level you're on and having that kind of fun. Because vehicles up until now haven't been something that I really used as much, even when I could use a vehicle, I tended to just run because my Amara ran kind of fast, or slide around very, very quickly. This makes gives me a reason to jump into a vehicle and have a blast, especially since we have these really cool vehicles coming up. I'm very excited for that.
Get it? Have a blast. Don't look at me like that, chat. Don't judge me. And then everybody listening on the podcasting services are like, oh God, why do we subscribe to this again? I'm sorry. Please subscribe, like, comment, do things. Please. I apologize.
We appreciate it.
We do. We really do. Yeah, the interview was amazing. Again, thank you to Gearbox for setting it up. Thank you, Graham and Nick, for coming on. We appreciate having you, and we hope that we can have you on the show again very soon to talk about even more exciting changes that are coming to the game.
They work so hard. It's insane. Yeah. Like the more we get to talk to the devs and kind of, peer behind the curtain and understand how much math and how much work and how many things are happening just for us to shoot one bullet out of our guns, much less do it in this incredibly beautiful environment and like have all of these crazy effects happen. We get sort of the end result of an insane amount of work that Nick and Graham and everybody is doing. And so it's been really, really cool to talk to them about that and understand what goes into all of this fun that we end up having. I'm really, 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 we're honored to be able to do that and to bring that to you guys.
Talking with Nick, we came to kind of understand in some of the post conversations, just really all the work that he put in with all the math to trying to figure out how to properly scale Mayhem in general. And, when people had conversations about whether or not it was there, he said, all right, let's relook at this and figure out where we can kind of bring it more in line with what players are expecting and how we can transfer some of that power back to the players so that the players can also then level up while enemies are slightly leveling down, and then bring it more in line with where everything can be. That's Nick. That's Nick's job. So if you really appreciated what he did, make sure to say thank you to him, because I'm sure he would appreciate the sentiments of happiness his way. So, yeah. All right, moving forward, as we mentioned at the top of the show, it's been a year of Bordercast, a year of Tess and I bringing ridiculous shows. And we just wanted to do a little recap and kind of talk about all the cool things that have happened in this past just over a year of what it's been like riding along with Borderlands since the initial inception of announcement that this was coming down the line. I remember when we first got the call, I'm sure you do too. And they were like, hey, we're working on something. Shh. And that fed into LA, which is that was a trip. Having I don't know how many streamers, I think it was 600, 500 streamers and 100 media personnel and other luminaries that were brought in to do this giant reveal of Borderlands. It was such a time. This whole rented out space, the Jackson Pollock paintings, or maybe no, Andy Warhol. That's it. The famous artist, the Andy Warhol Psycho paintings all over, the neon, the giant statue of the twins.
Yeah, that statue was so awesome. Oh my God, that was incredible. And all of the cosplayers that were there, it was incredible. Everybody, Borderlands cosplayers are like just incredible people. They're so talented. I mean, cosplayers in general are incredible people, but the Borderlands cosplayers that we met there and that we've gotten to know, like Lucky and Grim Bones and others, they're just amazing at what they do. It blows my mind every time I see their cosplays. That was really cool to get to see them and kind of benefit visually from it. Mm-hmm. That was a great event. And it's insane to me that it's been a year.
Yeah. That event is kind of where we started really talking about this idea. I had talked with a couple of people that they had this vision where, what if we did a podcast about Borderlands? What if we did something like that? And I said, that's a very interesting idea. Let's talk about this more. And it wasn't until after that the ball started getting rolling. And then they said, well, what about Tess? And I was like, what about Tess? Let's have a conversation about that. And I sat up very straight in my chair and said, cool, let's do this. I'm absolutely for it. And then, with a little hesitation, I was like, boy, how is this going to work? Do I write? Like, what do we do to bring this show together? And we kind of fell into this rhythm where, Tess works on a lot of the audio engineering side. She does a lot of our editing. and I do a lot of the writing and some of the production in terms of like trying to figure out, you know, what we want to do, how we want to book the show for everything that we do. And that's breaking down the fourth wall a little bit for how we actually produce this show every time we do it.
It's really nice because Mitsu handles all the stuff that I really don't like doing and am not as good at all.
And she handles all the stuff that I am not good at doing. So
that I love.
Really, it really meshed really well together. It was just one of those serendipitous things where it's like she loves to edit and I just can't do it, and I love to write and she just hates it. So we came together and really made something special happen out of that. Yeah. And the first guest that we ever had on the show was a close and dear personal friend of mine, King Gathalion. He graciously agreed to come on and share his story about how he's been feeling about Borderlands, you know, up to that point a year ago, and how much of an impact the game had on his life. It's where he and I got our start. We grew up together in this community 6-7 years ago now on Twitch.
When I first started watching Borderlands streams and streaming Borderlands, when I first showed up on Twitch about 6 years ago, you and Goth were two of the main people I watched. So it's kind of insane that a year ago we sat and did an interview of Goth together, and now we're here a year later. It's totally crazy.
Yeah. And shout outs to Goth, who actually just recently announced that he's moving over to Facebook gaming. I'm very happy for him. Yeah. I miss him so much. I want to go visit. We did E3 coverage. Remember that?
Yeah, that was really fun. I hope we get to do that again someday. That was really, really fun.
Someday when they have E3 again. Oh boy. Yeah. That was an interesting time because you know, we had ideas that maybe something involving Borderlands might be discussed, but we didn't know what it was. So we're sitting there and we're watching the entire conference. And we're like, oh, that's pretty cool. That was okay. This is fine. That's all right. This is this. That's that.
Oh my God, Borderlands things.
And it's just like, oh, that's Lilith. What is she talking about? And then the trailer hits and we're just going nuts, and the chat goes crazy. And it was so much fun to actually like do that live.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was really
I
cool.
wonder if there was an E3 this year, if perhaps one of the DLCs would have been a part of one of those shows.
Maybe.
Yeah. I would have liked to think that it would have been part of PC gaming.
Yeah.
That's what I would have hoped anyway. Me and PC gaming, we go back and forth. Like sometimes I like their shows, sometimes I don't. So yeah, they could have used a little Borderlands love in there. I think that would have been really nice.
Yeah, and then after that, we had our first interview with Anthony Nicholson, which was our first dev interview that we ever got to do, and it was such a huge honor. And it like every single time we get to do that, it's a huge honor to do it, to bridge the devs in the community together this way. And it was really, really cool to kind of pick his brain about all the things that were going on at the time with Borderlands and all of the things looking ahead that they were going to sort of do in the future and we were hoping for. And it was really, really, really cool to do that. That was amazing.
Yeah, Anthony is brilliant, and he's always fun to talk with. I got to see him in San Francisco right before everything got turned upside down. It was really nice to kind of connect with him again and understand his vision for what the game is going forwards. He's just a delight, and I hope we get to have him on again very soon. He's super cool. Oh boy, you want to talk about that one? You can talk about this one.
Sure. The Dallas launch party, which was so cool and so crazy. Oh my God, that was so full of things. They oh God, I'm sorry, I'm looking at chat in my brain. Sometimes it just goes into chat. But basically, we got to stream the game from the event. They had setups there for us with these beautiful Zydex powered by AMD computers. Like they had actually the one that I played on was an Amara PC. It was all done up in purple and it had like the Amara graphic on the front, and it was so many beautiful RGB lights, and it was really powerful. And I didn't realize that we were going to be streaming and gaming on the same computer, and I was a little bit concerned because my experience was never amazing doing that in the past. Those machines totally did not even have a hiccup like playing the game and streaming it from the launch party. It was really, really cool. So we got to play the game early, a little bit early that night, and it was really cool to share it with you guys. And then they also had like live music, and they announced the movie, which we now know is absolutely moving right along.
That's right, they did. Oh wow. Yeah, I remember. I think in the 11th hour, I was working on the run of show. We were backstage, and I'm just like I'm going through things, and I think I don't remember who came up to me. Somebody came up to me like, "Hey Mitsu, you know there's a movie coming, right?" Charlie, what now? There's a what? Well, I'm just gonna throw that in the run of show, and and then we had to talk with it with Char and Damn It to Hell, who were also there, and it's like they had some interesting perspectives on what the movie possibly could entail. You and I had a good conversation with it. That was also the first time I ever met Greg Miller in person, because he was there too. He and Fran were covering the event they had like a whole couch set up, and they were kind of jumping around talking about different things, and that was really nice. Did you actually get a chance to go out on the floor and like see the event?
No, I wanted to, but I was so engrossed in the game and streaming, and I just, yeah.
I wanted to at least go out and see it. That party was wild. The entire dance floor was completely covered with people. Everybody was having a good time. They had like 2 full service bars. The music was pumping loud. We cool. Like all 4 of us who were streaming in the back were being cycled through on the monitors out in the actual like venue.
Wow.
At different intervals, so they actually got to see that happen, which was really cool.
It was such a cool event. It was amazing.
Yeah.
I hope I hope that things like that can happen again in the future, and we get to go to them, and everybody gets to go to them. It was a fan event. It wasn't just us. Actually, there were, I don't know how many people there were, but the whole point of it was to include fans, and it was first come first serve up until a certain amount, and it was just like open to the public. It wasn't just streamers that they invited to this or anything like that. It was actually only a few streamers and the band, of course, and the devs, and then you guys. So like obviously not everyone was there, but there were a ton of local people and some people that traveled that got to go. So it was really cool.
Yeah, Randy actually put it together, and it wasn't for streamers. It wasn't for. Obviously, you had the band there, and they debuted the theme of Borderlands 3. But what it was really for was for the employees of Gearbox. That was the most important thing. That's why he put it on. He was like, "This is my thank you to," and the community at large. But he really focused on. I remember in a lot of tweets that he wanted to say that this is something that we wanted to do to say thank you to the company for working so hard on everything that we've done leading up to the game. And then the addendum was, now that we have this idea, let's open it up and have some members of the general public come in and hang out and dance and celebrate with us too. So he like took a small scale concept and was like, let's just rent out a whole venue and invite like 500 of our closest friends and whoever's in the Dallas area, just get the heck in here, and we'll have t-shirts and do cool things. This is great. It was a great time. Cool.
Yeah. And then launch day itself was totally crazy. That's a blur in my brain. What was your experience like, Vincent?
You think back to launch day. Everything kind of went off. It was rough at first. I remember. I'm not gonna lie here and say that everything went perfect. A lot of things went right, and the game was itself very enjoyable. But I remember that there were a few hiccups along the way. That some things weren't working as intended. The Epic Game Store had a few challenges, but I look back on it now and I say, in comparison to, we were 9 months away from that, and everybody's enjoying the game. The game's on Steam, the game's on Epic, the game's on all these different consoles. I have no knowledge of this, but I'm going to take a guess here and say that they've been working on updating the game for PS5 and for Xbox One X, Series X. What are we at now with Xbox? They keep repeating the name, so I'm like, where are we at again? But I wouldn't be surprised to see what happens with that too, and that's exciting. That's going to be a launch day in and of its own self whenever that comes down. I can't wait to see that happen.
Yeah. And then not too long after all of that, I got to go hang out with Liz, the awesome Ultimate Vault Hunter host, on the Borderlands show, which is our sister show hosted by Greg from Kind of Funny and Fran Mirabella from Kind of Funny. They're amazing guys. It was really fun to do that. We got to play the new DLC, the first DLC, a little bit early, and give each other a hard time and have a good time. And it was just really cool. It was really inspiring to kind of like see where they work and how they work, and learn from them and just hang out. It was a good time. It was really, really fun for, I think, everybody, me and Liz. And then Mitsu got to do it not long after.
I did. I want to say it was either the following episode or the episode after that. My memory is not great. But it was nice to. I enjoy flying, so like going out there and being in San Francisco for the first time ever in my life. I went to the Golden Gate Bridge. I walked all the way down and walked all the way through the bay, right up to about where the closest point in San Francisco proper, where you could kind of like see Alcatraz, and like went through the streets and kind of acclimated myself to everything going. It was really nice, and then of course getting to go to the Kind of Funny offices. Meeting Greg, but getting to see Fran again, meeting Nick and everybody who works there, Joey, and kind of like, I'm nervous when I'm around new people. It's like this weird thing where, you talk for a living and you're looking at a camera and you can do that. It's personal, but it's impersonal. And then when you actually have to go and shake hands with somebody, or I guess we're going to probably like not do that. Maybe we'll do the fist bump or the elbow bump for a while. But when you're doing that, face to face, it's such a different experience. I just kind of like sit quietly in a corner, and whoever talks to me, I'm grateful for. And if people are just kind of going about their business and not, I'm just like, oh, please don't mind the little guy with the scarf in the corner. I'm just kind of here. I still don't know why, but I'm happy to be here. and the show was amazing. We got to talk a lot about, I know you got to talk about your stream and your experiences. I got to talk about mine and my experiences and what this was like as we were coming up. And it's been nice to be on the show ever since. That's a good time. That's a fun time.
Yeah, definitely.
We, producing the show, we didn't really have a clear-cut vision. We knew we wanted to talk about Borderlands. We knew we had a passion for it, and we envisioned talking to devs and things like that. But one thing that kind of goes into the production aspects is how we kind of fell into some of the routines that we love bringing to the show. Like this past week and hot fixes applied. Tess, I don't know if you happen to have it handy, but if you do, feel free to go ahead and play the jingle real quick, even though we're not doing the segment this week.
Sure.
There it is.
Give me an excuse to use the cool button.
Yes, there it is. Yeah, I mean, we haven't had too much of a chance to really do an actual proper one, but I think that this is probably like more of an advice segment, at least this little one right here. When you start a podcast, it's okay if you don't have a set idea of things that you want to do. You have this broad outline of what you want to be able to talk about. And then as you continue to do it, you let it evolve on its own. And you start to realize, okay, this keeps happening. We keep talking about hot fixes. So what if we just made a segment out of it? We keep talking about what we've been doing this past week in Borderlands. So what if we made a segment out of it? And I think that those routines are very important when you're trying to build up a show. You don't have to beat yourself up if you don't have all the answers and ideas right away. It's better to just create that content and let it speak for itself and then figure it out as you go than sit there with writer's block and never actually take that first step to create. It's so important. Just put it out there and let it speak for itself and have it evolve.
Yeah. That goes for honestly anything creative.
Mm-hmm.
And also for exercise. Also, probably for anything in life. Just starting is so much harder than doing and continuing. You know what I mean? Anything that you have to do, even taxes, anything. Yeah, it's really hard to start. Anything that is unknown, anything that you're not sure about, it's always really hard to start. But once you start and you get going, and you have, I'm very fortunate that I have Mitsu and a really, really good supportive team at 2K and Gearbox to kind of bounce ideas off of. But even if you're by yourself, you'll always learn more things by doing whatever it is. You'll kind of evolve as a streamer, as a podcaster, as a runner, like for example, whatever you want to put time and effort into and improve, it won't get better until you actually start doing it. Yeah. Right?
two very wise proverbs. One is an ancient one. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. And the other is the wise words of Miss Frizzle from the Magic School Bus. Take chances, make mistakes, get messy. Yeah. And that applies to so many different things in life, including what we do here. We took a chance, we got a little messy, and we have a lot of fun with it. So, yeah.
We really hope in the future to do more interviews for you guys like we just did with Nick and Graham. And I hope we can bring you more dev interviews in the future and just more cool events, more news, more fun Borderlands stuff.
Yeah. When it's safe, I love doing the show on the road. Whenever we get it to do it from a convention, I know that unfortunately that doesn't really apply this year. Breaks my heart, but hopefully we'll have this thing kicked by next year and we'll be able to sit down in person again and have some of these really like cool, impactful, meaningful like interviews in person, like what we did for PAX East, where we sat down with the COO of Gearbox, Dan, who was really cool to talk with, and Jonathan, who was a very passionate artist working for Gearbox Quebec. They were a great conversation to have. Yeah, I enjoyed that so much. Yeah. You miss it. Like it's one thing to be able to do this over the internet, but it's another when you can actually sit there and feed off of each other's energy and have a real back and forth conversation. I miss that. I miss that a lot. And I really hope that that's what happens. And for the community going forward, I hope that we can always continue to be this resource that everybody looks to when you're looking for breaking news, when you're looking for commentary, hard-hitting analysis. We try to address everything. Sometimes it's tough, to bring up certain topics, but there are topics that need to be discussed. If something isn't imbalanced, if something doesn't feel right to the community, that's what we want to do. We want to highlight that, but we also want to celebrate all the strengths of the game and highlight the things that also bring us together. And we strive here, we really do, to bring all of that input together when we are talking to the people who are responsible for making those decisions. So just know that you're being heard. And I read every single comment, good and bad. I probably comment more on the bad ones than I should, but I see it all, and it does affect me, and I promise we're making those changes for the better. So that's just kind of my vision for where we want to go going forwards.
Shared, definitely.
Yeah. So
in other news, besides our super, super awesome sort of walk through the last year, which was really cool to do. It's kind of still mind-blowing to me that it's been that long and we've done all this stuff already. I'm just excited for the future. But small segue, Direct Relief, Gearbox in conjunction with Direct Relief is running a drive right now where a $5 donation will net you shift codes for 2 masks for your in-game characters. While it's going for a good cause, it's also worth mentioning that said masks certainly do resemble everyone's favorite Psycho. I am about to show you if you give me just a second.
Of course. The visual for those of you listening at home is these masks in game. They are, like the masks that everybody's been wearing right now. They, fits around, covers the mouth, covers the nose, has the strings for the ears, but they have a protrusion kind of in the front, so they resemble very strongly Psycho masks. I believe Krieg's is a little on the side, but when I saw it at first, it really did strike me as very, very like poignant that it was a little bit like Krieg. Mm-hmm. So I was happy to see that, and I don't know if that was intentional or not, but it is just really cool to say.
Yeah, it's really neat. So these are the in-game, the digital masks. And then they also have, because so many places in the US at least and in the world are recommending cloth masks right now.
Yes.
In my particular city, it's mandatory, which is honestly, it's really important in my opinion for people to do this right now because numbers all across our country are going up, not down. And if you wear a mask, you're protecting all of the people around you. Even if you don't think you're sick, who knows with this, right? So you can rock a mask and look like a badass. These are real cloth masks that are washable, that are reusable, of course, and are available on Gearbox Loot. And you guys can get them. They have an Amara themed one that's purple. They have flak reusable ones. I think those are like a light gray, red for Moze, and I believe a kind of like grayish brown for Zane. They're really cool. Yeah. Really, really cool.
Everybody has one, 3 for $20. They're right there on gearboxloot.com right now. I would very strongly suggest if that's something that you would like to partake in, if you want to show off some of your love for Borderlands, they look amazing. In real life, do it. Yeah. Get them. I'm very tempted to actually get
we need
series.
More.
Well, the Amara one. The Amara, because purple is my favorite color, even though I'm a Zane main. I'm a hack.
I'm going to be playing Zane. You're going to be wearing an Amara mask. It works.
Okay. I can live with that. That's the balance. That's the deal we're striking up. So
cool beans. Cool beans. Gearboxloot.com, you guys, if you would like these, or if you just want to give a donation and get the in-game mask, again, you can absolutely do that.
Absolutely. And we highly recommend that you do. With that, Borderlands, the Legendary Collection, is out now. Right now for the Nintendo Switch, and Guardian Takedown is also out for all players to enjoy with its new health scaling. Boy, I think it's made a world of difference. And Tess, I feel like you agree. Where can they find you?
My channel, twitch.tv/Tessichka. I will be streaming a lot of Borderlands, the new DLC, as soon as it drops, as soon as I possibly can. I do stream some other stuff, but I mostly focus on Borderlands. So you can find me at my channel. You can see it right here. It's just Tessa, CHKA, Tessichka, twitch.tv/Tessichka.
Yes. Now I am twitch.tv/Mitsu, MITSU. Whenever I decide to go live, which isn't very often these days, I've been very busy. Apologies. But you can always see me being ridiculous on twitter.com/Mitsu Show, MITSUSHOW.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. Seriously, every single week you are amazing, and we love seeing you. We love hearing from you on Mitsu's Twitter, on my Twitter, Test Games. Definitely always feel free to reach out there or in our Discords, or just come and stop by the official channel. Mitsu streams Mondays and Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Eastern on the official Borderlands channel, twitch.tv/Borderlands, and I stream on the official channel usually every Monday and Wednesday. Sometimes the schedule changes. So like this week, I'll be streaming Thursday and Friday. So definitely stop by. I'll be streaming lots of Borderlands, of course. So will Mitsu. You guys also, you can find this show, the Bordercast, on podcast services, all of your favorite ones. Okay, let's see if I can get them all right this time.
You got this.
iTunes, Spotify, Google Music, SoundCloud, TuneIn, Stitcher. I think that's it. Oh God.
TuneIn. I didn't know TuneIn was one. All right. Apologies to all the TuneIn listeners.
TuneIn is the one that works with Alexa, although you can also get Spotify or iTunes on Alexa. So TuneIn is like, if you don't use Spotify and you don't use iTunes, you can use TuneIn for podcasts with Alexa. Hey, Amazon's cool, right? You can also, of course, see us live on Twitch every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. Twitch, on Steam as well, also on YouTube and on Facebook. Borderlands has a Facebook page.
We are everywhere, and we thank you for those of you joining us from every single source for doing so. On behalf of Tess, myself, the entire stream team, with many, many thanks to everybody who has supported us over the past year, including Melissa, Scott, Noel, Cullen, everybody at the Gearbox team, everybody at the 2K team. Thank you for a wonderful year. Thank you for joining us here as you do every single week. Now go forth and make some mayhem.